Good morning. It is 9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, and you can listen to that show anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in the FM dial. You can watch us as well. Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. Did you hear, Mason? I know, Mason, I know this is going to come as a shock to you.
Oh.
Dan completely ratted us out for playing video on the YouTube stream.
Dang it.
So we're going to do it again because we're not going to be intimidated.
This is called doubling down.
We're not going to, Joan, I'm not going to be intimidated.
Not going to be it again?
I'm not, yeah, of course I am. I'm not going to be intimidated by Dan. I'm not going to be intimidated by management. Like, I'm sorry. It's not how I was built. So send me the link when you get a chance. You understand?
Done.
I'm not here to bend the knee. That's not what we do. Not on the Chris Hand Show. So find us on Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. We will be playing video on your screen. Unless I get an angry intrusion from management, then I'll bend the knee. And only then, I promise. We got a lot to get to today. I got some comments from Marco Rubio on the Iran war. We also got Democrat reaction coming in hot and heavy. And by the way, did you notice that the government is still shut down? Partially, DHS shutdowns continue. We'll talk about that as well. And we also have video from the Epstein-Clinton depositions. Both Bill and Hilldog will play those for you today on the show, and we're looking forward to it. There is a lot to get to, only a little bit of time. We'll also be joined by my friend Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action in the 11 o'clock hour. A lot to talk about. Can I just say, one of the things that has been bugging me today is the divide in the conservative movement when it comes to this war. Like, I'll be honest with you. I think both sides have great points. I think that it is way too early to tell whether this operation was a success or a failure. And I think anybody that's telling you 100% certainty on either side of that coin, they don't know what they're talking about yet. It's going to take time to decide whether or not this was a win or not. But as I listen to the conversations around the Iran war, I find myself going, what the hell is wrong with people? Like, and you know, Mark Levin last night, we all know where Mark Levin stands on this stuff. He's pretty open about it, anti-Iran, and I think he has every right to be. I'm not knocking that. And I think his views are necessary. Can I say that? I don't agree with him 100% of the time, but I think his views are necessary. On the other side of that coin, you got guys like Tucker Carlson, and Tucker is completely against the war, and I think his views are necessary. I think it's good that we have both of these voices inside the conservative party, and I think that adds for healthy debate. But both of these sides just hate the other one so much. It's insane. Tucker and Mark Levin, I would say, agree on, 95%, 96% of the major issues facing America today, yet they are just lambasting each other every opportunity that they get. And I was listening to Levin last night, and Levin said, why would the president even allow a guy like Tucker Carlson in the White House? And I'm just thinking, why would we want an echo chamber? Now, I understand why the Mark Levin would want an echo chamber. He wants Iran completely decimated. It looks like he's getting his way. That's fine. But why wouldn't we want a voice of reason, somebody to at least represent the other side inside the room during those conversations? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And this divide that's growing on this one topic, it's like, guys, you do know we agree on like 99% of the things, right? Why are you getting so angry and so upset? It absolutely blows my mind. And then when you see other individuals, and I heard this on the radio station yesterday, you'll have people call in and they'll be like, well, what do you make about the opposition to the war? And they're like, oh, they're just Jew haters. And it's like, no. Actually, there's reasonable things to make you say, I'm not so sure about this. And it has nothing to do with the religion that they observe or the nationality of the people. Like, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with what we've seen in the Middle East for the past 2-3 decades with quagmire after quagmire toppling of dictator after dictator, and those countries not ending up in any better shape than where they started from. It's crazy to me. And when you denounce that as just Jew hatred, I feel like you're actually giving the people out there that do hate Jews the ammo to continue hating Jews. Because you're like, oh, see, we can't even have a conversation. The Jews shut it down again. It's insane. It's insane. This is just something I've been observing as the days are going on. I'll tell you where I'm at on Iran and Israel and America. I'm at wait and see. I don't know. It looks pretty good so far. It looks like Donald Trump is once again threading the needle. It doesn't look like we're going to have boots on the ground. All of that could change. And to judge this operation today, Tuesday, March 3rd, based on what we've seen since it kicked off, I think that's just silly. It's going to take months. It's going to take years before we have a reasonable picture on the operation. This isn't quick like Maduro. It's not going to be that quick. This isn't that operation where it seemed pretty quickly, pretty decisively, we put a huge W on the board. That is not this. This is going to take some time. This is going to take some ironing out, and we're going to have to be patient. That being said, in the meantime, I'm giving the president the grace and space to operate. If anybody has earned the goodwill of the American people when it comes to operations like this, it is President Trump. And I'm going to give him that grace and space until it becomes undeniable that he is deserving of criticism. And at this point, I don't think he is. And I think that's a very fair, reasonable, nuanced take. And I think anybody screaming one way or the other right now, what they're 100% in, digging their heels in, that this was a huge mistake or a huge victory, I think you're counting your chickens before they hatch. And I think that is a fair assessment of a situation right now when it comes to America, Iran, and Israel and what's happening in the Middle East. Does that seem fair to everybody? I think that seems fair to everybody. What do you think? 615-737-9986. Phone lines are open for you. Text lines are open as well. You can also jump inside the chat on the YouTube channel. We'd love to have you there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we will, I'm gonna say it again. We will be playing video on the YouTube stream until we get in trouble. Which we very well, do you think we might get in trouble? I mean, there's a good possibility of it, but we're gonna do it until we don't. Sound good? Everybody cool with that? I want to begin for the video on the YouTube stream with Marco Rubio. Some are calling him the greatest Secretary of State of all time. Other individuals online are saying, hey, bro, your neocon is showing, and I don't know which one it is. But I'm open to the argument on either side. 615-737-9986. Marco Rubio yesterday saying that we would have suffered higher casualties if we didn't preemptively strike Iran.
That was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act. Going back to the purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do and have been trying to do for a very long time is build a conventional weapons capability as a shield where they can hide behind it.
So that's Marco Rubio there saying we'd have suffered a much higher casualty. We'd all be here answering why we knew what we knew and we didn't strike. We knew that there'd be Israeli action, so we had to get involved. Basically, Israel was going to launch these attacks with or without us, and if we didn't get involved, we would have anticipated attacks on American forces, and more would have been killed. Not a huge fan of the rationale, because there's a certain part of you that says, okay, well, get your greatest ally in check and have a conversation with the greatest ally. But then there's another part of me that thinks keeping your soldiers safe is the right thing to do. Keeping American forces out of harm's way is the right thing to do. And it doesn't seem like Tehran was negotiating with any bit of good faith whatsoever. And we have comments from Steve Witkoff, who is doing the negotiations that I'll bring you later on that supports that argument. But Rubio said Iran was producing up to 100 ballistic missiles per month. Per month. Now, again, I do think there's some gray area. Like, I understand. This is like I think things need to be nuanced a little bit. Is the Iranian regime evil? Certainly. Can you understand why they wanted nuclear weapons and why they wanted missiles? Absolutely. 100%. And I think you're lying to yourself if you think there's no reason for them to need it. You saw Gaddafi get toppled. You saw Assad get toppled. You got Saddam getting toppled. You know who hasn't been toppled? Kim Jong-un. And what does he have that the other three previous dictators don't? So you can understand why Iran wants that, and you can also understand why America says, listen, this amount of missiles was too much for us to sit back and ignore.
Nuclear ambitions. They are producing, by some estimates, over 100 of these missiles a month. Compare that to the 6 or 7 interceptors that can be built a month. They can build 100 of these a month, not to mention the thousands of one-way attack drones that they also have. They've been doing this for a very long time, and by the way, they've been doing it under sanction. You see the attacks they're conducting right now? They're attacking airports, they're attacking hotels, they're hitting not just military bases, they're attacking our embassies directly, they're attacking facilities that have nothing to do with war or with military, and that's a weakened Iran. That's in Iran despite years of sanction. Imagine a year from now or a year and a half from now the capabilities they would have to inflict damage on us. It's an unacceptable risk, especially in the hands of a regime that's run by radical clerics. The Ayatollah was a radical cleric. That entire regime is led by radical clerics.
Again, people online are saying, hey, Mr. Rubio, your neocon is showing, but I also think that Rubio is making some solid points here. I don't necessarily think it's neocon-esque to protect American forces. I don't. But people online are making the argument that this is the neocon we always knew he was. Marco Rubio also eviscerated anyone that tries to downplay the attack that took out the Ayatollah and the threat that the Iran regime poses to American citizens.
They would have to inflict damage on us. It's an unacceptable risk, especially in the hands of a regime that's run by radical clerics. The Ayatollah was a radical cleric. That entire regime is led by radical clerics who don't make geopolitical decisions. They make decisions on the basis of theology, their view of theology, which is an apocalyptic one. That has to be taken very seriously as well. So that was the purpose for what this operation is all about. That's what it's focused on. As the president said earlier today, it is on or ahead of schedule. I will defer to the Department of War to discuss the progress being made at a tactical level, but it was the right decision and an important decision for the safety and security of the world.
So that's Rubio making his case why attacking the Iranian regime, taking out the Ayatollah, taking out the 48 top military leaders was the right move. And you can argue that it was, you can argue that it wasn't. But where we sit today, I think you can say that we are in a better position. The people of Iran have more of a chance than they had before. He said that we're ahead of schedule. Donald Trump said the timeline was, 4 to 5 weeks. Ahead of schedule, I'm a huge fan of. Ahead of schedule means we're not putting boots on the ground. And I think that's when the conversation becomes a little bit more tense. Should it start to circulate around boots on the ground? That's when people are going to get a little bit more squirmish. Squeamish? Squirmish. A little bit of both. We'll talk about that on the way. I got a couple more comments from Marco Rubio that I'd like to play for you. Also, J.D. Vance was making the rounds yesterday, and we got some audio from that. And I mentioned Steve Witkoff earlier, breaking down what negotiations were like with the Iranian people in real time. He said that they thought that they could strong-arm them. Witkoff said, and I'm paraphrasing, "Dog, Trump is our president. That ain't going to fly." Again, paraphrasing. But we'll bring you that audio on the way and more. A lot to get to, a little bit of time. It's 9:20. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. We talk about Cover Nash all the time. They're making health insurance simple for you. If you're tired of health insurance that feels like a math test, well, you're in the right place. No confusing percentages, no surprise bills, no fine print that bites back. Cover Nash simplifies everything, and they have brand new nationwide PPO plans that'll give you the freedom to pick your own doctors anywhere in the U.S. No referrals, no red tape. We're talking about $250 deductibles, flat $50 copay for any doctors, even specialists. Outpatient surgeries, $250 copay. Hospital stays, $1,000 total. Free preventative care because it is ACA compliant. And here's the kicker: no surprise bills, no hidden fees, just real protection from real providers. Maybe that plan's not the perfect fit for you. Well, Shane has you covered because Cover Nash works with over 75 top-rated insurance companies. They'll find something that fits your budget and your needs, guaranteed. Call my friend Shane this morning, 615-465-0023, 615-465-0023. Get health insurance made simple. CoverNash.com.
Coming up, Kristi Noem calls out Democrats for creating a national security risk with the current government shutdown. Also, another Republican may be about to join the race for governor. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. Looking forward to the headlines on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Less than 5 minutes away. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Mason Fleming producing. We do got video up on the YouTube stream and Rumble and Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Hit like, hit subscribe. Help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. We appreciate you doing that. So I'm going through the text. 615-737-9996. And I had mentioned Tucker, and I'd mentioned Mark Levin, and I don't agree with either of them on 100% of anything. But I do agree with both of them on the majority of things, if we're being perfectly honest. The core issues of conservatism, the Constitution, America, believing in this country, I think that we all agree on, and I don't want to rehash influencer drama. There's enough time for that on social media. But I think that highlights the divide in the conservative movement better than anything. You have guys that are very, very pro-war, and you have guys that are very, very anti-war. Mark Levin was mad that Tucker Carlson was inside the White House, and I don't know why you would be mad about that. Why are you mad about opposing viewpoints? One of the selling points on how great of a President Lincoln was his team of rivals. Now that kind of stuff is out the window, according to Mark Levin. And I'm getting text messages, and somebody said, Chris, you're being lukewarm on this subject. Tucker Carlson is a subversive dirtbag. Okay. But, like, the same could be the other side says the same thing, essentially, about Mark Levin. They call him a subversive war hawk. Like, why wouldn't we want both of these views in the White House debating the topics of the day? Why wouldn't you want that? Doesn't that make us stronger? I think that makes us stronger. And I like opposing viewpoints. I don't agree with everybody 100% of the time. I don't think anybody does. I made the point yesterday. Even my wife, who I like a lot more than you guys, just being perfectly fair. We don't agree 100% of the time. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. But we agree on the majority of things. I don't understand why there's so much stupid beef over this. But, hey, what do I know? I'm just but a humble meme farmer. I do know that Iran wasn't run by good people. I do know that they weren't good to their own people. I do know that they were funding terrorism around the globe for 3+ decades. And I do know that the negotiations, while they were looking for peace, Donald Trump gave them every opportunity to come to the table. And it sounds like they thought that they were in a position of power. That's at least how Steve Witkoff explained it all last night on Fox News, that they came to the negotiating table and Iran thought that they could strong arm us. And I'm sorry, but have you seen our president lately? That's not going to work.
Well, it was pretty silly, but they thought they could strong arm us. President Trump sent me and Jared there to really determine on his behalf whether they were serious about doing a deal that addressed his objectives, which are elimination of their missile program, elimination of their advocacy and support for proxies, which is destabilizing the entire Middle East, elimination of their Navy so we can have freedom of the seas and not be threatened with the shutdown of the Gulf of Hormuz, and finally, no nuclear enrichment that can get them to weapons grade, which means no nuclear bomb. And we went in there and tried to make a fair deal with them, and it was very, very clear that it was going to be impossible, probably by the end of the second meeting. But we then went back for the third meeting just to give it the last college try. And of course, they thought they wanted us to report positivity. It was not positive, that meeting.
Clearly, and it didn't exactly end positively for those team of negotiators and their leader, the Ayatollah. It didn't end positively at all. I mean, ended positively for some people. I think a lot of Iranians are very, very happy about that today. But, it is what it is. You can't say that the Trump administration didn't go in there trying to negotiate. And you also can't, to a certain extent, you can't really blame Iran for not giving up their stuff. But you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Congratulations, regime change. That's where we're at today. What happens next? That is going to how this operation is defined. Does this turn into a long-standing quagmire? Does this end up as a quick 3-4 week operation? No matter what side of the aisle you're on, it's going to take time before we determine if this is a success or a failure. You can't pick winners and losers on today, Tuesday, March 3rd. It's just not how it works. We'll be back in a moment. I got more audio from Marco Rubio talking about those strikes. We'll also bring in some of the Democrat reaction. They are not too happy, but they're Democrats. Are you shocked about that in the least? 9:30, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 9:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem testifying right now before Congress on DHS funding and oversight. She was asked what's being done to catch so-called lone wolf attackers like the one in Austin, Texas.
We are revetting some of the individuals and some of the programs that we may have concerns about. looking at social media, also going through those interviews that are necessary for some of our programs that the Biden administration abused and perverted under their time there as well. We know that we have many dangerous individuals that came in unvetted, and we are working every single day to find them and to make sure that we're preventing the next attack and preventing the next crime they may perpetuate against the American people.
And she also said Democrats' refusal to fund DHS undermines national security. Closer to home, there could be a new candidate for governor. Astronaut Butch Wilmore doing his due diligence now on a potential campaign. It'll determine whether he'll run for that seat. Wilmore needs 25 signatures on a petition filed by noon, March 10th. That's next Tuesday in order to run. Now, he filed as a Republican, meaning that he would go toe-to-toe with Marsha Blackburn and John Rose. Wilmore has said that he had been praying about it for 15 years. Residents in the Donaldson area fed up with homeless camps and the trash that's piling up because of them. Jane Schnell tells News 2 that she hosts litter cleanups near Stones River Greenway. But right after the cleanup, the trash begins piling up again.
It's illegal to camp on state property, period. So that encampment under the bridge should be gone.
Schnell says she has reported the issues to Hub Nashville, but so far there's been no action to clear the camps. That is the latest news. We've got your weather just ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand for Better Water LLC. My bad. I was taking a sip of Wally's Bean Machine coffee, and it just completely threw me through a loop. It's just so good. It's so good.
Wally'sBeanMachine.com.
And also, your water tastes better when you're putting good water in it. You might have some nasty stuff in your water, and if you do, you're going to want to clean it up. If you don't know, you're going to want to find out. That's where Better Water LLC comes in. If you're tired of weird smells, stains, or just plain old bad tasting water at the office, they'll come to your home or your office and test your water for free. Now, they may find some disturbing things. Sulfur, iron, chlorine, bacteria, even E. coli. But don't worry, they've seen it all, and they've cleaned up far worse than what you're dealing with. Using reverse osmosis, specialized filters, UV lights, Better Water can clean it up. They're a local company based out of Smyrna, and they're already treating the water at the local coffee shops and the hospitals around town. You probably already tasted their work, and you didn't even know. But it's time for you to test your water today and find out, am I bathing in junk? Am I bathing my kids and my grandkids in terrible water? Are we drinking this stuff? Get yourself some peace of mind with Better Water today. 615-355-6063, 615-355-6063, or connect with them online, betterwater.com.
Then get ready for some more rain, even some thunderstorms on Saturday.
You're listening to the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
37 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Just a reminder, my friend Josh Tifo will be joining the show Tifo Tuesday. That'll be coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. Senior Director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. Looking forward to talking with him about how he thinks the conversation is going inside the conservative movement. He's got his ear to the ground, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. We're also opening the phone lines for you. Anything you want to add to the conversation. You want to turn the monologue into a dialogue to steal a line from the great Matt Murphy? 615-737-9986. You're welcome to call in. You're welcome to make your thoughts be known. I encourage it. I'm a huge fan of that. Marco Rubio let his thoughts be known yesterday. Democrats are saying this was illegal. You didn't notify anybody. You didn't consult Congress. This is an illegal operation. I mean, okay. He notified the Gang of Eight. Let's also not kid ourselves and pretend that Donald Trump is doing something unprecedented. He's not. He's doing something that Joe Biden did, Barack Obama did, George Bush did, Ronald Reagan did. Like there's historical precedent for this. It's just not the situation. But the Democrats are upset, so they're gonna yell and they're gonna scream and they're gonna gnash teeth and do what they do. Marco Rubio was asked about it yesterday. Why not notify Congress, sir? Why didn't you notify Congress? How come you didn't think to notify the members of Congress?
Notify Congress ahead of this, and does Congress?
Well, we did. We notified Congress. I mean, we notified the Gang of Eight. We notified congressional leadership. There's no law that requires us to do that. The law says we have to notify them 48 hours after beginning hostilities. We've done that. I think the notification went today. But we did notify members of Congress in advance. But we can't notify 535 members of Congress. Well, the Congress can vote on whatever they want, but there's no law that requires us to do that. And I want to say something because I see people on TV. Look, that's fine. If they want to take a war powers vote, they can do that. They've done that. They've done that a bunch of times. But people keep saying that there's no law that requires the president to have done anything with regards to this. To begin with, no presidential administration has ever accepted the War Powers Act as constitutional. Not Republican presidents, not Democratic presidents. That said, we have followed the notification at 48 hours, and we're here today. I've done more Gang of Eight briefings than I got in the 4 years that Biden was president and I was a member of the Gang of Eight. All of that said, we've complied with the law 100%, and we're going to continue to comply with it.
We comply with the law. The Democrats gnash your teeth. The media, go ahead, gnash the teeth. Everything was done by the book. Now, for all intents and purposes, I've been referring to it as a war, and I think that we all do. It was a military strike. It was military action, technically. No war has been declared. No war is probably going to be declared. But they are going to be able to continue military action. And as we've seen from the Trump administration, they have signaled, they have said and telegraphed that the biggest wave is yet to come. This is going to get worse for Iran before it gets better. What does better even look like? Your guess is as good as mine. But we're seeing the Democrats lose their mind. We're seeing the fake news spin up stories in the meantime. One of the stories that I've seen going around was that we actually targeted civilians, that we targeted a school. That has since been debunked, that a school in Iran was taken out by United States, or Israel, depending on the media outlet that you saw. They were reporting different things. I think it was Al Jazeera reported that it was Israel, and then another outlet reported that it was America. And how could they do this? They took out a school. And then the reality of the situation was it was very similar to what we saw with the Gaza-Israel conflict, where they accidentally took out a hospital with their own missiles. Same thing happened in Iran. Marco Rubio was asked about that, though.
But it's clear that the United States would not deliberately target a school. They are, on the other hand, deliberately targeting civilians, as you've seen, because you know why? They are a terroristic regime. They sponsor terrorism and they participate in terrorism.
I love the response. It's like you do understand who you're dealing with, right? We are the United States of freaking America. We are not running around bombing schools. That is absolutely asinine. Also, the regime that we just took out, yeah, they've targeted civilians. Where is the same outrage? Where is the same energy for that? It's not there. It's not. Rubio says that the regime has had the potential ability to shut off 20% of global energy. And they only have that leverage because of their Navy, because of the Strait of Hormuz. You've heard a lot of people talk about this. I don't think I need to readdress the importance of the Strait of Hormuz. But Rubio says that leverage that they have from their Navy, that ability to knock out 20% of global energy, is one of the reasons why we're sinking all of their freaking boats.
Okay, this terroristic regime led by radical clerics has the ability, potentially, to shut off 20% of global energy. That's the kind of leverage they have because of their Navy. We're going to destroy their Navy. But there is a plan in place. We anticipated this could be an issue, and Secretary Wright and Besson will begin to roll out those steps starting tomorrow.
I love how that's why we're destroying their Navy. That's why we're sinking all their battleships. That's why. And it's happening quick. How many have they sunk so far? I think it was like 9 was the last total. I could be wrong.
11.
So just a few short of a baker's dozen. How many left? Just probably not many. But taking out 11. Jeez Louise. Well, that's what happens when you threaten global energy. I was on this internet forum last night. It's an underwater basket weaving forum. And where people are talking about, what are you laughing about? Mason's chuckling.
It's a good forum.
You never know when you might need a skill like that.
It's vastly important.
So we're talking about underwater basket weaving, and the Iranian conflict comes up, and somebody's like, "Oh, the U.S. is only doing this to go after oil. That's all they're doing. It's the oil. They're going after oil." It's like, hey, knucklehead. We're a net positive exporter here in America. We actually just took Venezuela, and we have Canada right to the north of us. That, I don't know if you know this, but we could take it at any time. As soon as we decide. That ice block is ours. So we don't really need the oil coming from Iran. But what this does do is it hurts China. I think if you're paying attention, it hurts them when it comes to energy. What's the name of that country one more time? I see you.
China.
That's the one. It'll hurt Europe a little bit. It'll make Europe need some more energy from us. But, I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? There's no reason to even let that thought cross your mind that we're doing this for oil. That is just, it's absolutely silly. I don't know how to say that any more clear. That is silly. It is asinine. We do not need Iran's oil. And if anybody brings you that talking point, you can just look at them and say, you are not a serious person and you don't pay attention to geopolitics, because why would we need it? We don't. We just don't. But as things go in Iran, the worst for them is yet to come. Marco Rubio signaling that yesterday. Hardest hits on the way.
Any exchanges whatsoever outside of...
No, not at this time. I mean, look, we always have people that reach out from inside of governments. You don't know if they're authorized to reach out or not. They're suffering a tremendous amount of damage. Honestly, again, I'm not going to give away the details of our tactical efforts, but the hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it'll take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives, and we will achieve those objectives. The world will be a safer place when we're done with this operation.
I'm going to trust the administration until we have proof that we shouldn't be trusting them. He said, when we're done with this, the world will be in a safer spot. America will be in a safer spot. I'm going to trust Rubio. I'm going to trust Trump in this situation. I think that they have earned the right for us to give them the benefit of the doubt. But we shouldn't be counting our chickens before they hatch. And I'm not going to call this operation a success yet. And I don't think anybody should call it a failure yet. Only time will tell. But I think that the president, Marco Rubio, this administration, they have earned the grace and the space. That's just my assessment of the situation. You tell me if you disagree. 615-737-9986. The Democrats reaching for talking points, just struggling, just downright struggling with the news that America is back and America is strong again. Jake Tapper on his show yesterday, he had a retired Lieutenant General Charles Moore on with him, and he said, was it necessary to take out all of their military leaders? And it's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? But was it necessary for Iran to try to strong arm us during negotiations? I mean, I think that's a better question. As it stands, yeah, I think it was necessary because you got to decapitate the snake, right? You got to cut that head off. If a dog's tail keeps wagging you, what do? I mean, what are we doing? Was it really necessary?
Was it necessary to kill the top 49 leaders of Iran, including Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader?
I think it was a very wise move for a couple of reasons. First, anytime you can decapitate leadership in the government and military organizations, you put the whole country, the entire apparatus, in a state of upheaval. They don't know what's going on. It's extremely difficult for them to execute command and control, to have any type of synchronization or integration of their forces.
So yes, Jake, it actually was necessary, clearly. And you can see that in the chaos that Iran is in right now. They don't know what they're doing. They're just praying and spraying, firing missiles everywhere, hoping 1, 2, 3 of them stick. They are a wounded animal, and they have been painted into a corner. You can argue that the strategy of taking out all those leaders was brilliant by the American administration. You can also argue that President Trump displayed an absolute amount of strength in that moment. Take them all out. Don't tiptoe around this thing. Just do it. Crap or get off the pot. And President Trump said, enough of this crap. I'm a fan. I think that if you're going to go all the way. And what we saw the Trump administration do was go all the way. 615-737-9986. Aubrey in the borough, you're up first on Super Talk. What's up, Aubrey?
Hey, Chris, just wanted to give you an acronym that you can use for people to remember exactly who our enemies are. And that acronym is CRINK, C-R-I-N-K, and that's China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. And that's who we're fighting. It's not just one. But also, I wanted to tell you, I'm your partner in crime on Hill Dog.
Let's go.
I named her that way back when she had that rally. And she did the barking, the arf, arf, arf,
yep,
that we all just died laughing at. I thought, she's not Hillary anymore. She's Hill Dog.
Yeah, all right,
anyway,
hey,
love your show.
Thank you, Aubrey, and I appreciate the call. 615-737-9986. On the way, we will be diving into the Hillary and Bill Clinton depositions from the Epstein files. A lot of individuals said that we only got into war with Iran to distract from the Epstein files. If that's the case, it was a terrible distraction because all over the internet today are those just insane moments from Hillary Clinton during this deposition. So if the whole point of this was to distract from the Epstein files, congrats, you blew it. And I don't think that was the reason. Many have pointed to that on the internet and said that is exactly the reason. Well, if it was, congrats again. You blew it. Jeff on the road, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, good morning, Chris. How you doing, man? Good show. Hey, I just wanted to say, it's funny people that, the Democrats especially, some war powers, vote and all this, they're acting like, diplomacy hasn't been attempted nonstop for 47 years. And up until last week, and finally a red line's enforced. We're not dealing with a normal country here. This is an absolutely dangerous theocracy now. Is it the best thing? I don't know. Like you said, time will tell. There's a lot of factors to this. But if we can somehow fundamentally shift, the paradigm in the Middle East, this is good for the world. How many millions of lives are going to be saved here? I mean, there's a much bigger thing at play here, but diplomacy's been attempted since day one. I was in high school living in Central America, a military kid. When the takeover happened in 79, man, I feel this acutely. People wake up, look at history. I don't know if this is the best thing, but I think maybe it was necessary. That's it for me. Thanks, Chris. Have a good one.
Appreciate the call, Jeff. And I'm kind of in the same spot with you. I don't know. I think that it's going to take time for us to know whether or not this was a massive success or a huge mistake. Looks pretty good today. That's just my assessment. But I do think that anybody digging their heels in that this was a major win or a major loss, they're digging their heels in a bit prematurely. 9:52. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at United Structural Systems. It was a few weeks back. Was it last month? Oh my gosh, time's flying. Winter Storm Fern rolled through. It caused a bunch of damage. Everybody knows it. We don't even have to rehash it too much. But there was ice. The ice melted. Then it got cold again. Then we went through the freeze-thaw cycles. And while that's happening, your home's foundation is quietly having a number done on it. And this is where United Structural Systems comes in. For more than 30 years, USS has helped homeowners across Tennessee repair that foundation damage caused by storms and severe weather. Now, these guys aren't going to offer you quick fixes. They're going to send an expert to your house, not a sales guy worried about his quota, but an expert who's going to create a custom solution for the issues that your home is dealing with, because your home is too important to gamble with. This is what really sets USS apart. And one of the other things is their commitment to the community. They support local schools, neighborhoods, organizations like Habitat for Humanity. This month, actually, they're participating in their 10th Habitat build right here in Middle Tennessee, Ashland City to be exact. They're going to be framing and installing roof trusses, helping a family rebuild on solid ground. That's what service looks like. That's what integrity looks like. If your home has foundation issues after severe weather, choose a company that stands with Tennessee families. Choose United Structural Systems. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. Make that phone call today for peace of mind with United Structural Systems. USSTN.com.
Stocks are trading sharply lower today as fears of a protracted war hit the markets. Also, Israel just hit a very important gathering of clerics in Iran this morning. We'll tell you about it coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, I was just about to tell everybody about that.
Well, you can't now because...
I can't because you stole my thunder.
Right.
Thunder has been...
It's the goal of my life.
The thunder has been seized. You ready for a radio segue?
Yeah.
Much like Israel is currently seizing territory in Lebanon. That's a hell of a segue. Yeah. I just want everybody to know I'm the king of the radio segues, and I'm also the most humble host on the radio station. Nobody segues like I do, and nobody does it more humbly. But I got the headline here for you. Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz said on Tuesday that he and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have authorized the army to advance and seize more land in Lebanon to prevent firing on Israeli border settlements. The Israeli military has advanced a kilometer into Lebanese territory, seizing positions in at least 3 areas and prompting Lebanese troops to withdraw, a Lebanese army official told The National. They're advancing rapidly, and it's changing every single minute. The New York Times reported it like this: an emboldened Israel seizing opportunities to seize territory. Well, I think you can make the argument that Israel is emboldened. And I think that these kinds of stories give a lot of ground to the individuals who say that we are only doing this because Israel wants us to, which I'm open to the discussion. I am. I don't, again, people will call me riding the fence, Neville Chamberlain, and I'm like, I just think both sides make decent enough points. Let's wait and see how this thing shakes out. I don't know if we're doing this for Israel. It doesn't seem like it when you hear Rubio or Trump talking. But when you see Israel making moves like this, it's like, man, they're not wasting any opportunity that's in front of them. And maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just that. The Army continues to operate with force against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, Mr. Katz said, to prevent the possibility of direct aimed firing on Israeli settlements. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and I have approved for the military to advance and seize additional controlling areas in Lebanon and to defend the border settlements from there. We'll bring you updates on this as it becomes available. And Joan Jones standing by with the headlines. What happened to Iran's Islamic experts? Joan's going to fill you in. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. I want to let drivers know this morning that on 24 westbound in Jolton, it is still a hot mess this morning. 24 westbound past Whites Creek Pike, that's still the paving work going on there, and 2 right lanes are blocked off. Also, 65 north in Franklin, it's a stalled out tractor trailer that takes out 2 right lanes right at McEwen Drive. The Iranian Supreme Council was just about to select a new supreme leader when the Israeli Air Force struck. Here's Fox News' Trey Yanks.
I'm told by a senior Israeli official that the Israelis just struck the Supreme Council gathering where the Iranians were meeting to choose a new supreme leader. This is a significant development and, again, speaks to the Israeli intelligence about this war.
Sure does. There's more here. Let's get the latest from ABC News.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Sherry Preston. Worldwide stocks sell off amid fears of a wider war in the Middle East. The Dow losing 2.5%. More explosions heard in Iran as the U.S. and Israel step up attacks. Iran also striking back. ABC News chief international correspondent James Longman is in northern Iraq.
The U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia struck by 2 Iranian drones hitting overnight. No injuries reported, but U.S. officials warn of an ongoing threat, with at least 8 other drones intercepted in surrounding cities. And an urgent warning this morning from the State Department, telling all Americans in the Middle East, from Egypt to Saudi Arabia and Israel, to depart now via commercial transportation, issuing evacuation orders for non-emergency personnel and family members in at least 6 countries.
Iran threatening to attack ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. That is helping drive oil prices higher. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Here in Nashville, with construction underway on the Music City Loop, some residents near that project feel left out of the conversation. They met last night at the First Baptist Church, Capitol Hill, for a meeting led by State Senator Charlene Oliver. She spoke to News 2.
It has been one-sided, pushed by the Boring Company. But the Boring Company is not listening to us.
Now, that group is asking for a meeting with Governor Bill Lee and the Boring Company to address concerns about the use of public land for what they call private enterprise. Stocks trading much lower today on fears that the Iran conflict will drag on. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrials down 1,100 points. NASDAQ falling 536. The S&P 500 index down 148.
Buy the dip. Buy the dip.
Oh, absolutely. This is a perfect time, right? That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Six minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Ann. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Mason Fleming is producing. Joan Jones is in the newsroom. You are welcome anywhere you'd like to be. Phone line, text line, same number, 615-737-9986. You can also jump inside the chat, either on YouTube or Rumble. We ask that you subscribe while you're there and help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. We're back to playing video on the stream. We didn't get the okay from corporate. We just decided to ask for forgiveness and not permission.
Yeah, if we're stuttering a little bit, it might as well just put up the video because nothing's getting better till later this week.
Is it bad that I'm kind of like, they're like, oh, if you play video on the computer might die. And I'm like, let it die. If it dies, it dies.
If he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies. So we're trying to speed up that process.
Video on the stream.
Videos on the stream, baby. Hit like and subscribe. So a lot of people have said that the reason we attacked Iran was to distract from the Epstein files. It's an interesting take. I'm not necessarily against it. However, I do think it's been thoroughly debunked. Or maybe that was the goal all along, but this story is too big to ignore any longer. Because one of the biggest conversations on the internet yesterday were the release of the video depositions from Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And they are explosive. Like, just to say the least. They're explosive. You have Bill Clinton being asked about the hot tub photos that have been going around, asking about the connections between Jeffrey Epstein and the Rothschilds. You have Hillary Clinton being asked about Pizzagate. Ooh. Now, listen, I was built for this conversation. I was on the underbelly of the internet in 2015 getting ready for this moment. There are lots of questions about Pizzagate that deserve answers. And anybody that tells you different, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. Even people that I know and like and respect, I will tell you when it comes to Pizzagate, they are wrong. There are questions that need to be answered, and we're going to talk about that. Let's start with Bill Clinton, though. Bill Clinton sat down for his deposition, and it started like this, which is, it just made me chuckle because I'm like, not exactly starting off on your best foot there, Bill.
First question I have for you, Mr. President. Have you ever lied in a deposition?
No.
Have you ever lied while under oath?
No.
Now, if you're keeping score at home, you'll understand that Bill Clinton was impeached for lying under oath. You know, when he had sex with that intern. So, you know, Bill, classic. Maybe he's got some failing memory. Maybe he's just lying. Something to think about. But not off to a strong start. That's Bill Clinton. He was then asked how he was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein. And he said that it was his friend, former Harvard president Larry Summers, that introduced him to Jeffrey Epstein.
Mr. President, we're going to discuss more specifics later, but for the record, can you briefly describe the nature and extent of your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
Well, sometime after I left the White House, either in late 2001 or early-ish in 2002, I received a call from Larry Summers, who had been on my economic team and was later Secretary of Treasury and was then president of Harvard. And he said that he was calling because a man named Jeffrey Epstein, who had made a substantial commitment of several $1 million, I think it was 10, but whatever it was, I don't, to brain research. And that he was a information hungry person, and he wanted to spend some time talking to me about economics and politics. And he said, he's got this massive airplane, and he said he would take you, your staff, your Secret Service detail, anybody else you wanted to bring on the trips that he knew I was planning to set up a global network to provide life-saving AIDS medicine to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible.
That's weird because we all know that Epstein visited the White House 17 times while Bill Clinton was in office, but he said that he didn't meet or get introduced to him until after he left office, when, you know, they were gallivanting around the world to save everyone from AIDS. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Bill Clinton then went on to be asked about the strange hot tub photo that has been floating around the internet of Bill in the hot tub with was this on the island? I think it was on the island with a girl in the photo, and he was asked about said photo.
What we're trying to get at is some context for the public on whether you remember this photo and any details you may be able to provide us about it. So do you recall the details of this photo, recall the photo being taken?
No, I don't think I ever knew the photo was taken.
Okay, and for those who can't see it, it's a photo of you in a hot tub. There's a person next to you here. Do you remember where it was taken? Where was it taken?
I'm almost sure that this taken, I think there's an adjacent photograph, which you probably have, that if people saw it, they would feel that someone was trying to con them showing this picture. But anyway, this picture was taken in Brunei. And we flew one night on a trip to Asia, the last very long leg.
You said we. Is it who is that including?
Well, my TIL team that was working
Thank you.
on the AIDS issue, and Mr. Epstein was there, and Miss Maxwell. But anyway, we got to the end of the flight was Brunei. It's a tiny place, but a very wealthy one, and the Sultan of Brunei was a man that I had gotten to know well in my 8 years as president. And his first involvement with international matters was basically to join the Asian Pacific Economic Leaders Conference, which
A lot of Bill Clinton's deposition was just like this: slow, monotonous. Well, let me tell you, let me explain this. This isn't what you think it is. And you know, that was a good chunk of it. But he doesn't really explain much. He lies often. And when he's asked about the incriminating nature of the Epstein probe, he says, "I don't even think you should be talking with me." I don't think that he says I do think you should be talking to me, but I think this could have been a phone call. I took trips with him. You have a right to ask those questions. And this is the core of the issue with Bill Clinton. We want to get down to the bottom of it.
I have to just say one personal thing. Since Hillary came in yesterday, she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Nothing. There's a picture of us both shaking hands with him in a photo line in 1993 at a fundraiser for the White House Historical Association. I don't know how it is under President Trump, but when I was there, it was about the most non-political operation you can imagine. There were people who loved the White House, who were interested in it, would give a little money every year to do things that needed doing around the house. And nothing nearly as extravagant as the ballroom or any of that, just things that had to be done. And neither she nor I remembered shaking his hand all those years ago.
Yeah, sure. You know, that was one of the 17 visits that he had to the White House. I'm sure nobody remembered. And I will say this. I don't believe Bill when he tells you that about Hillary, but he does say essentially the same thing about Donald Trump. You know, he says Hillary had nothing to do with Epstein. He didn't know Epstein. And I'm like, I bite my tongue a little bit. I take it with a grain of salt. But then he did say the same thing about Trump, and I believe him about the Trump thing. Now, I believe him about the Trump thing because there's other evidence that supports that, and there's no other evidence that supports his statements on Hillary. But this is him on President Trump.
I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. But I do not want to leave the impression, but since there was no follow-up question, the president never, this is 20-something years ago, never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein either. He just didn't.
So I take that with a bit more truth, and I think that statement holds a bit more weight because of the supporting statements that we've had from Bradley Edwards, defense attorney for 70-plus Epstein victims, and because of the FBI statement on the Palm Beach Police Department, having Donald Trump reach out to them, saying, don't just focus on Epstein, focus on Maxwell. And to be fair, while he covered for his wife, he did rat out some other individuals, Bill Clinton did, in regards to their connection with Epstein. One person was, maybe you've heard of him, the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker.
It's on here.
Yes, we can hear you. Was Jeffrey Epstein on? You apparently took 26 flights on planes connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Was he on every flight you were on?
Was he on every flight I was on? That's a good question.
If you know.
What?
If you know, their flight manifest,
Yeah,
do you know?
There'll be a record of it, but I think he was, or certainly on most.
You think he was? Well, that's okay. Was Ghislaine Maxwell on every flight you were on, as far as you remember?
The same answer. I think she was, but there'll be a record of it.
Okay. When you took these flights, you're saying a lot of them were on behalf of your foundation or your charitable work, correct?
Yes.
Who did you normally bring on these flights? I assume employees of the foundation, whatever.
I brought people who worked with me, especially people who would have to follow up on the fundraising, or people who were involved in my AIDS work. I bought people who.
Just like I never go anywhere alone. You never went anywhere alone, right?
What? No.
You always have an
And I had the Secret Service with me, and then on occasion, I had people who had volunteered to help us and wanted to see what we were doing. Right. For example, I think it was on one of these trips, I think, that I had my first trip for the man who's now the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and his wife. They helped me get started.
That one stands out to me because if you remember, it was Tom Pritzker, the cousin of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, and billionaire heir who had to step down as the executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels Corp. In February of 2026 because the release of the Epstein files detailed his continued association after the convicted sex offender, after he became a convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein did in 2008. Tom Pritzker resigned, did not stand for re-election to the board. He expressed deep regret for his association with Epstein and Ghislaine, admitting to terrible judgment. And now you have the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton, saying, you know who was on that plane with us, actually? J.B. Pritzker. Oh, weird. I think J.B. Pritzker needs to answer some questions, and I think that would be a good person to depose. And to be fair, I think there are many Republicans that need to be deposed as well. Another thing that stood out to me, and this is interesting because this is the second person to be deposed that we've seen video bringing this up. Bill Clinton talked about the Rothschild family and the connections to Epstein. If you remember correctly, we played a clip a couple weeks back where Les Wexner said that Epstein was the personal finance guy for Linda Rothschild, and now Clinton's saying the exact same thing.
During Ms. Maxwell's interview, she stated that President Clinton was her friend, not Epstein's friend. Is that accurate?
I'd say that it was accurate to say that I felt closer to her than to him.
And for the record, why was that?
Because I had seen her more, and because she was very good friends with Evelyn Rothschild and his wife Lynn, whom I knew and was in regular touch with.
I don't know about you, but I found that very, very interesting that has been confirmed, essentially, that Epstein was very connected to the Rothschilds. Now, as we move forward, there's a lot of audio from the Hillary Clinton side of the deposition, and the Hillary Clinton side of the deposition got way more heated. Hillary went full Benghazi. What difference does it make during her deposition with the House Oversight Committee? And there are many questions that were raised for Hillary Clinton that I think do deserve some answers, and we'll talk about them on the other side. It's 10:21. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Zero Res Nashville, and these guys are going to be on speed dial all season long. Baseball season is kicking up, and that means the dirt is going to be kicking up, and the boys are going to bring it in the house. Even though we constantly ask them, please, 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 take the shoes, take the cleats off in the garage. Do you know where they end up taking them off? It's usually right there on the carpet in the living room because I forgot. I forgot. This used to make me much more angry. And they would be the steam. The steam would come out of my ears. Now the anger is not there. We call Zero Res. They're the Maha of carpet cleaning. They use their exclusive ZR water. No soap, no harsh chemicals, no residue. The carpets, the upholstery aren't just going to look clean. They're going to stay clean longer. The kids can sprawl out on the floor. The dogs can roll around. We don't have to worry about what's in the fibers. It has been a blessing to me and especially to the wife. Right now, you can ask them about their 2 or 3 room specials. They're going to save you a bunch of money, and they're going to clean your carpets better than anybody in the entire industry. And it's not just carpets. They do air ducts, tile, rugs, upholstery, the works. And the reviews through the roof. You're not going to find a higher rated carpet cleaning company that's doing it for the price that Zero Res is doing it at. Give them a call today. You won't be disappointed. 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. ZeroResNashville.com.
Is the president obligated to notify Congress about striking Iran before doing so? We'll tell you what Marco Rubio has to say about that. And fears of lone wolf actors, Iran supporters here in the U.S. That and more coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. You may know her from her time as the president of John Thune's fan club, but she does a lot more around here, and we're grateful for her, and we appreciate her. Headlines on the way, less than 5 minutes. Sometimes I just do the John Thune things because it makes me laugh. It makes Mason laugh, too.
Get a little giggle in there.
A little chuckle.
A little chuckle.
A little chuckle. Tell you what, we got some Hillary Clinton audio on the way for you. Hill Dog being deposed. She was very upset the entire time. So we went through the Bill Clinton stuff. The Bill Clinton stuff was like, it was cool. It was there. I was just talking to our boss, new suit, Paul. He came in here. I thought he was going to give me. I thought I was going to get grief for playing the video.
Little reprimand.
Yeah, no. He said he actually went full Drago too. He goes, "Let it die." I was like, all right, bet. But no, he's like, I feel like I'm in 1996 with Bill Clinton lying again. It's like we went back in a time portal, and he lies terribly. It's like, yeah, I get that.
I've seen this episode before.
Yeah, and the Hillary stuff too. Hillary refused to answer questions when she was asked about the photos of her husband with Jeffrey Epstein victims. This was Hillary a couple days ago.
I'll give you an example. If I saw a picture with my wife, it's just really hard to be relevant. If my wife saw pictures with me as a grown man hanging out with obviously or close to underage women, regardless if it was before we were married or not, it would be a question. And so what I'm asking you is, did any questions regarding those photographs come to your mind?
I am going to, just as clearly as I can state, say I don't see the relevance of your question, and I am not going to talk about conversations that I had with my family, especially my husband.
No, Bill said, baby. Those are all flight attendants, actually. They were, babe. Those were just flight attendants. Don't worry. Don't just trust me on that. They were all flight attendants.
What did happen, Mr. President?
I don't know. I mean, I've already told you this. I'll tell again. I never saw anybody do anything wrong. I thought they were flight attendants.
Do flight attendants typically wear tank tops and jeans?
They don't all wear uniforms on private planes.
Yes, sir.
Baby, they were flight attendants, I swear. I don't mean to laugh. I mean, like, it's like I chuckle, and then it's like, then I'm quickly reminding myself, like, how dark and evil the actual story is behind it, that they weren't flight attendants at all. They were underage girls who were there essentially against their will, or they had been groomed into that position and then groomed into much more evil things like luring more girls into the Epstein network. And I chuckle because of just the hubris of Bill Clinton. He's like, oh, it was a private plane. It was a private plane. And I think that there are real questions here. During the Hillary Clinton deposition, she got some real questions, and it got real heated. Real heated. They had to take breaks. Lauren Boebert was snapping pictures. Hillary Clinton lost her mind when they asked about the Anthony Weiner laptop and the insurance file. These are real questions that Americans have. And we're going to talk about all that. We're going to dive into it on the way. I'm going to bring you all the audio from Hillary Clinton, including the point where she slammed the table and stormed out of the Epstein testimony. All that and more next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The conflict in Iran enters its fourth day today, and Americans are being urged to get out of the Middle East right away. President Trump taking action here at home as well.
Overnight, the president sent formal notification of these strikes to the Hill, but Democrats are demanding that this war be put to a vote, and the House is expected to take up a war powers resolution later this week. That would block any further U.S. military action in Iran without congressional approval, but that is unlikely to become law.
ABC's Mary Bruce, but is the president obligated to accept the War Powers Act? Well, here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio on that.
There's no law that requires the president to have done anything with regards to this. To begin with, no presidential administration has ever accepted the War Powers Act as constitutional. Not Republican presidents, not Democratic presidents. That said, we have followed the notification at 48 hours, and we're here today. I've done more Gang of Eight briefings than I got in the 4 years that Biden was president and I was a member of the Gang of Eight. All of that said, we've complied with the law 100%.
He was speaking with reporters yesterday. A third person has died after the potential terror attack on a bar in Austin, Texas.
This is Jim Ryan. The bloodshed in Austin's popular nightclub district came a day after the Department of Homeland Security issued a warning about potential lone wolf terror attacks coming in response to the U.S.-led military strikes on Iran. Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis.
Everybody better be on heightened alert. You know, what happens across the country, we all need to be aware of.
Images of the suspect moments before he was killed by police show him wearing a sweatshirt that read, "Property of Allah." Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
Now, despite the heightened threat, Democrats say they have no plans to end their blockade of DHS funding. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and I got a question that I need to ask you. How long have you been living with that pain? The back pain, the neck pain, the sciatica, the slip disc, the herniated discs. Maybe you got spinal stenosis or numbness or weakness in your hands or feet. You think it's just part of getting older? You think it's going to be something you have to deal with for the rest of your life? It doesn't have to be. And you can change it today with a phone call to the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They have my seal of approval on this deal that could change your life. We're talking about 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. Dr. Mitchell is an absolute innovator, and he has the most advanced tech to help you get back to a pain-free life. We're talking about machines like the HydroWave. This is going to stimulate your stem cells for real healing at the cellular level. We're talking about anti-gravity machines, cryotherapy, robotic lasers, and more. During your consultation, you'll get a full exam, x-rays if needed, and we want you to bring your MRI because Dr. Mitch is going to take a look at it. He's going to break it down. And he's going to map out a real plan to end your pain today. Starts with a phone call, 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or you can find them online at painisbad.com. Start your pain-free life today, painisbad.com. $35 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? I'm Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, YouTube, at Chris Hand on Air. All of them are the same because, doing that uniform thing makes it easier for everybody. So find me on the platform of your choice, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I do appreciate it. We're talking about Hillary Clinton's deposition on the Epstein files. Many people online said, we're only attacking Iran to distract from the Epstein files. Well, I mean, if that's the case, they blew it because a lot of the internet has been hyper-focused on these video depositions that have been released relating to Bill Clinton's deposition and Hillary Clinton's deposition. And Hillary's was fiery. Mostly peaceful, but fiery. They asked her all sorts of questions. One of which made a lot of people on the internet's ears perk up, and it had to do with Pizzagate. You remember Pizzagate, right? That the world's elite were satanic pedophiles controlling everything in back rooms where they raped and murdered and abused children. Everybody thought we were insane when the original conspiracy theory came out. Yet you dive into new Epstein files now, you know, the Epstein files that were, it was signed into law by President Trump to be released, those Epstein files. And there's some really disturbing emails in there that give a little bit more credence to the accusations that our elites are satanic pedophiles running the world in the back rooms. It just does. And I don't really want to talk about those emails on the air. They're there for you if you want to do your research. They're gross. It's gross. I mean, the most I'll say is that they're emails related to torture. But they are far worse than that. Far worse. And when this conspiracy theory originally came up, everybody said, you guys are crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. And then slowly but surely, we started to gain more ground on this conspiracy theory. And now we have documents that sort of support the original theory. I do think when it came to the original Pizzagate theory, there was a lot of muddying the waters. And I think that part of that was intentional. I do. Throw in completely outlandish claims along with the rational claims, and then everything seems completely outlandish. The Pizzagate claims were really built off the back of the WikiLeaks emails that, I mean, you can make the argument torpedoed Hillary's campaign for president. And in those emails specifically that WikiLeaks released, which they never had to retract, right? Nobody ever said that they were false emails. There were emails from John Podesta, closely tied with the Clinton campaign, the Clinton Foundation, yada, yada, yada. You know the Podesta brothers. And in those emails, Podesta is talking about handkerchief-related maps and all of this coded language that has to do with pizza. And it became really, really weird. And then when you dug into the FBI declassified files on online pedophilia, a lot of the terminology that was being used in the Podesta emails linked up with what the FBI had said is code words for pedophilia online. Then you dig in even further and you get into like the Podesta's weird art collection, which just so happens to have little kids tied up, or a statue of a Jeffrey Dahmer victim. And it gets very, very weird, very, very fast. And it created a lot of actual questions on the internet. And those got shut down. We were told we were crazy. But as Hillary Clinton is asked about Pizzagate during her deposition, she gets so angry that I think it holds even more weight today than it did a few years ago. Listen to this from Hillary Clinton when she's asked about Pizzagate.
2017 speeches and interviews, you described Pizzagate as a baseless conspiracy theory, alleging you and others ran a child sex trafficking ring from a Washington pizzeria basement. Have you reviewed any 2025-2026 Epstein files that were released that you believe reference or relate to those specific 2016 claims regarding the Podesta emails, Comet Ping Pong Pizza used as code possibly?
I'm sorry, you're asking her about whether she's reviewed emails in the Epstein files which relate to the wacky Pizzagate scam.
You could characterize it however you want. I just would like to know if she's familiar with any of them.
So excuse me, your question is about whether or not she has reviewed any emails in the Epstein release files about Pizzagate.
Now, here's just a quick reminder. There's video of Hillary's reaction on our YouTube page and Rumble. As you're listening to the audio on your radio, we have all the video for you on the YouTube and Rumble, the live stream, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. And Hillary is just shaking her head and smiling. Just this weird, creepy grin from ear to freaking ear. And it's like, is this woman a monster? I think she's a monster.
Correct. Pizzagate was totally made up. It was an outrageous allegation that ended up hurting a number of people, that caused a deranged young man to show up with his assault rifle and shoot up a local pizzeria. I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be.
There are connections.
To be fair, nobody has ever answered any questions about the Podesta emails from the WikiLeaks files. Nobody. Not the Podesta brothers, not Hillary Clinton. They always just move the goalposts and talk about something else. And when she talks about it caused a pizzeria to be shot up, yeah, that was a weird situation when that armed gunman went into the pizzeria, fired 3 shots, and the only thing he happened to hit was the hard drive of the computer. It's weird. That doesn't sound like a mass shooting I've heard of. That's a bit strange. They never answered any questions about James Alefantis, who in one of these news articles talking about his pizzeria says, oh, we store everything in the basement. And then in later articles when he's being questioned about Pizzagate says, we don't even have a basement. That never came up. They never came up the weird Instagram page of James Alefantis where they have just these crazy pictures where they're holding infants, and it's so gross to even bring it up. And the hashtag that they use on the comments is chicken lover. And if you do some research on the internet, you find out that the FBI declassified these terms, and chicken lover means young boy lover. It's gross. You're not allowed to ask those questions. It was a baseless conspiracy theory, you wacko. There's no truth to it at all. Again, never mind the fact that Podesta himself, it was his emails from the WikiLeaks files that started all of this that we're never allowed to ask about. This isn't relevant. This has nothing to do with anything. I'm here to tell you that the core of Pizzagate, there are some real freaking questions that people need to ask that nobody ever asked. And in 2026, I think we should start asking those questions. I think that we should get some answers for those WikiLeaks emails. I think that it should be treated seriously. I think that there should be an investigation into people like James Alefantis. I think that there are unresolved issues with all of that, and there was never a real investigation. When they say it was totally baseless, based on who? There was no investigation whatsoever. All you did was call us conspiracy theorists. And what have we learned about conspiracy theorists? Gee whiz. As the calendar changes, we just get proven right. That was baseless.
To the language.
Well, the QAnon people believe there are. So
I don't know what QAnon people believe.
Have at it.
But you've accused certain parties, and I think even right now today, of promoting slow walking or information in ways that fuels conspiracies. In your view, did any Epstein-Maxwell related investigations or file handling pre or post 2019 contribute to or intersect with the spread of Pizzagate-style theories about Democrat figures?
Objection.
I have no way of answering. That is the most
speculation.
Ridiculously.
Have you or your representatives identified any Epstein file content that has been misinterpreted online to revive those claims? And what steps, if any, have you taken to clarify?
Again, object on the ground of
I think that this is all very reasonable.
Well,
I do too.
First of all, I don't follow the crazy conspiracy stories that are online.
You remember when it was a crazy conspiracy theory that Jeffrey Epstein was using sexual blackmail to blackmail politicians and world leaders? Remember that when that was a crazy conspiracy theory and everybody thought we were insane for even addressing it? Remember when it was a crazy conspiracy theory that Hollywood was run by a bunch of pedos and that the kid actors were being systematically abused? And then you see that huge documentary on, what was it, HBO Max, just like a couple summers ago, where they basically out all these weirdos from Nickelodeon. Do you remember when that was a crazy conspiracy theory? Everything's a conspiracy theory until we have the evidence and the proof. But until we have the evidence and the proof, we're not allowed to ask any questions because you're a lunatic. Got it. Got it.
I regret that anybody does. I find it quite sad, but also disturbing that people would believe some of what is put forth, like Pizzagate. So I have taken no steps to review anything that might have any connection to something which I think is totally bogus.
Totally bogus. You know, listen, just because Besta Pizza, which was located right next to Comet Pizza, had a declassified pedophile symbol, declassified by the FBI, mind you, as their actual logo on the pizza place, don't ask questions. You stupid internet conspiracy theorists. What are you doing? There's so many questions on this. But you're not allowed to ask them because you're crazy if you do. Don't, and for the love of God, don't bring up Anthony Weiner's laptop and the file that he had labeled insurance on it, because then people get really upset. You know, I mean, there was a file on Anthony Weiner's laptop, the former husband of Huma Abedin, who's now, is she married to the Soros kid, or is they're just fooling around? One of the two. The story has it, the lore, if you will, is that Anthony Weiner had on his computer an insurance file. Insurance for what? Your guess is as good as mine. But as the internet lore goes, just about 8 NYPD officers viewed said insurance file. Each of those 8 then committed suicide. Is that related? I have no idea. But you're not allowed to ask about it. Lauren Boebert did, though, to her credit.
Are you aware of any files that were on Anthony Weiner's laptop in a folder that was titled Insurance, Life?
Excuse me, that was Nancy Mace, not Lauren Boebert. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Hillary get a bit nervous, look at her counsel, and you can see the gears turning on how do I answer this one.
Are you aware of any files that were on Anthony Weiner's laptop in a folder that was titled Insurance, Life Insurance, with a zip file titled Frazzle?
This is chairman's ruling. Is this within the scope? Is this within the scope, Mr. Chairman?
If the chairman rules that it's not within the scope,
Mr. Chairman, based on what you said in the public hearing, is this within the scope?
We can go off the record for a moment.
Mr. Chairman, is this within the scope?
We'll go off the record and can talk.
And then they go off the record. She doesn't even answer the question. She doesn't have to answer the question. She's got her safety net right there to her left and to her right, her legal counsel. This is another question that I think people deserve answers to. What the hell was on the life insurance file on Anthony Weiner's laptop? What was it? And is it related to those 8 suicides by NYPD officers? You're not allowed to answer that. We're going off the record. Let's take it off the record. That wasn't the only time they went off the record. They also went off the record when Lauren Boebert snapped a picture. This has been getting a lot of play online. Hillary Clinton losing her mind because there are rules that you need to follow. Tell me that this doesn't give you flashbacks to her Benghazi hearings.
If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I would like to understand how that's permissible.
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So
well.
I would like to take a break at this moment.
Yeah,
I'd like to have
I'm
a
done
conversation.
for now.
At this point, what difference does it make? Doesn't it? The same vibes, same energy. There are a lot of questions. I think more were raised by the release of this deposition from Hillary Clinton than were answered. And I think that there are a lot of questions that still deserve answers to some of the darkest conspiracy theories that have been around on the internet for at least a decade. And I think the American people are ready for those answers. And I think that there's going to be a lot of disturbing truths should we ever get them. But we probably won't. We're probably not going to learn anything. They're just going to say that we were insane. Don't worry about it. The same people that told you COVID didn't come from a lab. It came from was it pangolin? Came from a pangolin. No big deal. Stop looking into it. And the vaccine's totally safe. Those people are telling you there's no there. So there mustn't be. There mustn't be. 10:51. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris And here for my friend Aaron Parker over at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. Aaron is a great guy. He runs the family business with his family. That's why it's a family business. I know. You get that. Him and his boys run everything, and these guys are the best. They do business the old-fashioned way. Veteran-owned, Christian family business. They answer their phones. They show up on time, and they only sell products that they would trust in their own home. You see, if you have a safe that can be tipped over by a teenager or pried into with a screwdriver, it's not a safe, actually. It's a filing cabinet, and it's great for those files, but it's not going to protect your valuables. It's It's not going to protect your firearms. It's not going to protect the precious metals, the jewelry, the photo albums, the passports. It's just not. Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville carries real safes. We're talking UL-rated TL and TR safes, tested and certified to resist tool and torch attacks. That's the kind of protection you need. That's the kind of protection you want. What safe is right for you? Aaron Parker has a detailed breakdown of every safe they have in stock on their YouTube page. You search for Parker Safes on YouTube. You get a video review of every single safe in stock. Now, you find the safe that's right for you, and you give my guy Aaron a call. They deliver and service Nashville and the surrounding areas. Shelbyville is not another country. That's just where they're located. You're essentially in their backyard. 931-842-6445. That's the number for Aaron. Or you can always hop online. Parker Safes on YouTube or parkersafes.com for a whole list of their inventory. Parker Safes and Vaults. Real security done right. parkersafes.com.
All right, drivers, got construction slowing you down through Jolton. The right 2 lanes are blocked, 24 westbound. And then in Lebanon, we've got Lebanon Road eastbound closed there at Highway 109 because of a vehicle fire. We've got an Operation Epic Fury update, and a well-known Middle Tennessee astronaut's name is on the candidates list for governor. All that and more coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand, 1058 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Joining us in studio now, my friend and yours, Josh Tifo, Senior Director from Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. He's just getting over a spell with the Ebola virus. So how you feeling, man?
Well, I'm alive. Had to skip Tifo Tuesday last week because I was almost dying. But here we are. Excited to be back.
It wasn't actually Ebola. It was dengue fever. Is that what it was?
I think it was. The Chinese poisoned me.
Chinese. But you're back.
But here I am. Here I am.
Almost full strength?
The 90%. I mean, everything's blowing up in the Middle East. I got to come and talk about what's going on.
What's your instant reaction with what you're seeing in Iran? We got about a minute.
So here's the important thing we need to understand. Regardless of your opinion on whether or not we should start a war with Iran, we're here now. And the situation is pretty much if you break it, you buy it. There's no doing this halfway. So even if you're very isolationist and you think that we have no business striking Iran like we did, we're in it now. American troops have died. We have killed the supreme leader. And the question needs to be, where do we go from here? So everything's different. The criticisms need to, at a certain point, go out the window. And instead, we need to think, what do we have to do now so that we don't end up in a forever war?
What do you think about the two sides? I mean, you have sides that are calling this an abject failure immediately, and you have other individuals calling this a total victory. I tend to think it's a bit premature for either of those classifications.
I agree 100%. I mean, they got the supreme leader. They haven't gotten the sun yet. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And regardless of your opinion, and I mean, Charlie's opinion was pretty clear. My opinion's been pretty clear. I shy away from international conflict whenever possible. But when you're in one, you have to ask, what is the least bad thing we can do now that Pandora's box has been opened?
Well, it seems like there's a lot of division online when it comes to this conversation. I want to talk to you about that a little bit on the other side and more. We'll dive into the conflict with Iran. We'll talk a little bit about the Epstein files and more. Josh Tifo's in here. Tifo Tuesday's back, now Ebola free. Hopefully. It's 11 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Rockets and missiles continue to fly across the Middle East, with at least 11 countries now impacted by the conflict. ABC News chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell reports from Tel Aviv.
Explosions rocking Tehran and sites across the Middle East. The Natanz nuclear facility damaged in a strike, but the UN nuclear watchdog saying there's no radiological consequence. It comes as the American death toll's rising. The Pentagon now confirming 6 troops killed in an Iranian strike on a tactical operations center in Kuwait.
Stock markets dropping sharply this morning. Oil prices rising as the fighting in Iran continues. Elizabeth Schulze says much of the worry is centered on how long the conflict may last, how long ships may be stopped from sailing through the Strait of Hormuz.
This is a little bit of a delayed reaction to what we're seeing as the conflict escalates in the Middle East. And some of the traders I've been talking to say what they are coming to terms with here is the reality that this could be a more prolonged conflict.
So here in Middle Tennessee, Gas Buddy says prices at the pumps jumped 17 cents since last week to an average of $2.79 a gallon. Election 2026. A well-known Middle Tennessee figure has officially entered the race for governor, it appears. According to new filings, astronaut Butch Wilmore's name was added to the ballot list last month. He's listed as a Republican. Wilmore joined several high-profile names already competing to replace the current administration, including Tennessee U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn and Congressman John Rose. A qualifying deadline for all candidates set for noon on March 10th. Video of Bill and Hillary Clinton's closed-door depositions over their alleged ties to Jeffrey Epstein are now public as the House Oversight Committee releases hours of testimony We have more from ABC's Sophie Flay.
The former president denied ever seeing Epstein act inappropriately or engaging in sexual acts, telling the committee that his brief acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light. However, Clinton said he found Epstein to be odd.
I felt friendly toward him, but he was, as I said in my book, odd.
He said he first recalled meeting Epstein when he accepted Epstein's offer to use his private plane for humanitarian travel tied to the Clinton Foundation's work.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem facing tough questions from members of both parties at a Senate hearing. Democrats focused on many questions on the 2 Americans killed this year in Minnesota by the Border Patrol agents Renee Good and Alex Preddy. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy with more.
Minnesota Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar told the secretary about what she'd heard from Alex Preddy's parents.
One of the most hurtful things they could ever imagine was said by you about their son.
Kristi Noem responded that she didn't call Preddy a domestic terrorist.
I said it appeared to be an incident of.
Louisiana Republican John Kennedy blasted Noem for appearing in TV ads urging migrants to self-deport. Noem insisted those ads have been effective.
Well, they were
effective in your name recognition.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
.1106 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Joined in studio by my friend Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Back after a bout with the Ebola virus, but he's recovered. He's doing well. Welcome back to the show, Josh. Tifo Tuesday.
It's good to be back, and we've got more to talk about today than maybe any other Tifo Tuesday since we started doing this last year.
Yeah, and I want to dive into this. So I'm listening to Levin last night, and Levin is very upset that Tucker Carlson was invited to the White House. It's just very angry. And I see this infighting. I use Levin and Tucker as like kind of proxies for the overarching argument, right? Like I like both of them. They're fine. Like I'm not agreeing with either of them on 100% of things, but like overall, we agree on the majority. And I look at Tucker and Levin, I'm like, overall, you guys agree on the majority of things. So why are we tearing each other down over this? And why is it an issue that Tucker Carlson is in the White House? We always celebrate Lincoln and his team of rivals. Shouldn't you want other viewpoints as opposed to just neocons and warhawks in the room when it comes to something like this?
So part of the reason why this is happening is because the lead wolf of the conservative movement, Charlie Kirk, is gone. So a lot of the other wolves are more likely to fight. So kind of basic psychology there. And you look historically at the Mark Levins of the world and the Tucker Carlsons of the world. Usually the more isolationist argument is correct, but the extreme is not correct. For example, you saw the resounding victory of our quick, decisive, effective action in Venezuela. Regardless of where you are on that spectrum, maybe you love Levin, maybe you love Tucker, it doesn't matter now because we've broken the glass. The only way out of this mess is through it. We've taken out the supreme leader. And at this point, I believe it's deeply un-American to bash the president every day and talk about how dumb you thought his decision was. The decision's been made. And it's also remarkably arrogant to believe that you know better on an issue like this than the president of the United States when he has access to top secret information and you do not. There are things the president knows we do not know. We can commentate, we can speculate all day long. There are things the president knows and understands we do not know. And at a certain point, we need to trust him. I am against forever wars. I am against foreign intervention in almost every instance, in almost every set of circumstances. And I echo what Charlie said. For many, 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 many years, he aggressively pushed against any type of war with Iran. But whether you were for it or against it, we're in it now. And if you're an American, you have to understand that the only way out is through. So maybe you love this and you're doing cartwheels and you're thrilled. Maybe this horrifies you and you have prayed every day for 2 years that we would not end up with mass strikes against Iran, a war against Iran, and we're here today. Regardless of where you are on that Levin to Carlson spectrum, you have to trust the president and understand that the only way out is through at this point.
Well, and I think that's kind of the statement that I've been given. I think if anybody's earned the grace and space, it is President Trump. But this seems very, very different. I feel like in the aftermath of Venezuela, we knew relatively quickly that was a huge victory. We got him. We went in. We lost no personnel. We lost no tech. We lost no gear. And we got Maduro, and he's in the country. This seems like anybody saying that it's an abject failure or a decisive victory, you're counting your chickens before they hatch.
I mean, we know that the start has been strong, but this is going to take weeks or months. I pray not years. But this is one of the most complex geopolitical situations Trump could have ever waded into. And again, he has access to top secret information. We do not. At a certain point, we need to trust him. We need to know that this is the man who stood up at rallies in 2024 and railed against the neocons and their forever wars. We know what he believes. We know that he hates foreign intervention that is unnecessary. We know that his heart is with the American people, with young Americans, with working class Americans who are struggling to buy homes, struggling to pay for eggs, struggling to buy meat, struggling to fill up their truck every week. We know that his heart is there. So if we believe his heart is there and he's taken this action, then what does he know that requires him to do this? We need to ask ourselves that.
He's also, a lot of people say that he's changed his stance, but even 2015, Trump was saying Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That's the line in the sand. So I don't think he's actually changed his stance. What does success look like, in your opinion, with the Iran conflict?
Success looks like no U.S. troops on the ground. Success looks like mercilessly effective strikes over the next few weeks and semi-sane people picking up the pieces and running the country after this mess. They don't have to be the best people in the world. They just have to be scared of the United States. They need to be scared that if they cross us, like the former supreme leader, as he calls himself, did, then you know what? He could be next. I need them to fear us. I don't need them to be the best people in the world. I need them to fear us. That's what success looks like.
A lot of the conversation online has been that we are only in this conflict because of Israel. And that is a huge portion of the conversation online. President Trump was asked about it moments ago inside the Oval Office. Mason, you give me a little audio. This was the President Trump responding to that criticism and that question that's been propagated everywhere.
President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people, people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready, and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact.
Very powerful impact. The conversation on Israel, you heard the president's comments there. I think that there's some fairness to that critique, and I think that those questions should be explored and answered. I think when you label anybody asking those questions as a Jew hater, I think you're actually giving the Jew haters a lot more ammo to hate Jews.
And I agree to that point, but the only reason why we're having this argument in the first place is because if you're making that argument, you don't have a basic understanding of geopolitics. So which nation is more powerful, the United States or Israel?
The United States.
So which nation is using the other nation geopolitically?
I think you could make the argument that Israel is using the United States.
Oh, I would 100% fight you on that. So the United States is a far more powerful nation. The United States historically uses Israel as a strategic ally in the region to accomplish things they don't want to accomplish directly. So the whole narrative that, and this is not me saying anything negative about Israel, but you talk about GDP size, military ability. Israel is a very mighty but small dog in the yard compared to the United States. And the United States is a very big dog, the most powerful military in the history of the world. So to say that the little dog is using the big dog is actually very nonsensical and illogical. The idea that Israel is using the United States doesn't make any sense. I understand the argument that people make that Israel's feeding us bad intelligence or Israel's doing this to bait us into involvement with Iran. And of course, a smaller nation is going to want to encourage a bigger nation to get involved in their conflict. That's what we did in the Revolutionary War. We convinced France to get involved and help us, and that's why we, are here as the United States of America, because we coaxed France into the conflict in the late 1700s, and they helped us win the Revolutionary War. The idea, though, that Israel is using the United States is insane. The United States is using Israel. Trump wants to solve the Iran problem. He wants that as part of his geopolitical legacy. And when he goes out and says that, he basically just echoed what I said in that interview, where he made the decision and Israel was ready to fight with them. And of course they're ready to fight with them. You have this enormous power that's always this close to getting a nuclear weapon, a power that they educate their kindergarten kids about how America's the great Satan and Israel is the little Satan, and how as good Muslims, they need to wipe both of them off the face of the earth. Of course, whoever is in charge in Israel is going to want to try to get every other free nation in the world to go after Iran. I'm not saying that means we should or that we shouldn't, but the narrative that Israel is using the United States is insane. The United States is largely using Israel in this situation.
Interesting take. When you see these conversations happening online, are you getting involved in these conversations? Are you addressing these in your everyday conversations with young people? Are you seeing this sentiment that we're only there for Israel?
I'm seeing a lot of this sentiment, and it's a conversation we need to have, frankly. Actually, you should open up the text lines, the call lines, whatever you want to do. We should have those conversations today. I'm not here to say that Israel is perfect. They're an important geopolitical ally. We have a lot of important geopolitical allies who've treated us well, who've done us wrong. We can litigate things that have happened throughout the decades, or we can just wake up and be men and understand that the leader of the nation is going to try to do what's best for that nation. So Netanyahu is going to do what's best for Israel. Trump's going to do what's best for the United States. The late supreme leader was waking up and not doing what was best for the people of Iran, but probably what's best for his own ruling coalition and ruling family. But we need to understand the self-interest, and we also need to understand the might of the American military and the power of the CIA and the State Department.
But there's something so powerful about calmly talking about it. And when you have these questions and these conversations with the Levin types, they froth at the mouth, they lose their mind, and they say, "You're a Jew hater." And it's like, no. I think that there are actually some legitimate questions. And I think both sides make good points here. But when you froth at the mouth, I feel like you're losing the argument.
So both extremes drive me completely nuts because they're illogical. So if you believe that Israel is the 51st state, I'm sorry, you're a moron. And if you believe that the United States should never get involved in any foreign conflict, I'm sorry, you're a moron. Because guess what? If that is what we followed to its complete end, we would have never entered World War II, and we would have waited until the Japanese, Italian, German alliance brought the fight to America's shores, and who knows what would have happened there. Probably a lot of carnage, even if we had won. So there is a time for international conflict. It's rare, and when you break the glass, you better win. That's the moment we're at right now with Donald Trump, and we need to trust him.
615-7 Point USA in Turning Point Action. We have a call from Joseph in Goodlettsville. Joseph, what's up, man? You're on with myself and Josh.
Yeah, I'm just calling because I totally 100% disagree with Josh. Israel, Netanyahu itself has pulled us into so many unneeded wars in Iraq and the Middle East that hindsight, we know was wrong. Hindsight, we regretted it. People died. We lost money. Complete disasters. And this is the same thing with Iran. Israel is so much embedded in our, if he uses this word like it's big, geopolitics. When a prime minister, Netanyahu's not even the president of Israel or whatever, the prime minister. He's over the defense. And when he comes, the military, when he comes on our national television to talk to our people while we're bombing Iran, it just goes to show the IQ level of a lot of people, man. I don't think you can get around it. I don't think you're going to be able to convince, especially young Christians who love Jesus, to support a nation who hates Jesus. There's no. I hope you could convince me, because I wish it wouldn't torn me so much to love what's going on if, the country we supported and supposed to have our back and our greatest ally is not the biggest enemy of Jesus Christ on the planet. But
so the most important part of your argument we should focus on is what you said at the beginning, that Netanyahu and Israel has pulled the United States into various Middle East conflicts. So if we are dramatically more powerful and wealthier than Israel, then they don't have the ability to pull us into conflicts. We make the decision to get involved in them. Trump decided he wanted to take on Iran. Bush decided he wanted forever wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Great to his fault. Those were two of the worst international disasters in American history.
To be fair, and Joseph, I put him on hold because he tends to talk over and he gets excited.
And I love his passion. I
do too, and he calls in. And I think Joseph is more of a black-pilled conservative than he is close to a liberal. And we'll let him get back on. But to his credit, Benjamin Netanyahu addressed Congress before the Iraq war and said that there were weapons of mass destruction in there, and there weren't. So there is some ammo for this argument that Israel gets us into these conflicts.
So what did I say earlier about the leaders of nations doing what's best for their nation? If the leader of Israel wants the most powerful military in human history to take out one of their enemies, going before Congress and saying those things makes rational sense. Anytime that the leader of another nation is addressing our politicians, we should immediately look at it through the filter of whatever they're saying is best for their nation. Just like whatever Trump says and whatever Trump does is supposed to be what's best for America. So if Trump goes over to the UK and speaks before Parliament, everyone in Parliament's going to say, whatever Trump is saying, we have to look at it through the lens that he wakes up in the morning and he wants to make life safer and better economically, militarily, socially for Americans. So it's easy to blame another nation and say this nation pulled us in. We're more powerful than them. We stepped into it.
But when that's our ally, and this is going back to the Iraq war stuff, is it okay for an ally to lie to our Congress to benefit their nation?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. But that is going to happen. That's going to happen with allies. That's going to happen with enemies. Any head of state is going to say whatever they feel they need to further their goals. And one of Israel's big goals is to try to wipe out a bunch of their enemies because they're under a constant state of threat. They're constantly literally putting their teenagers in the military, drafting all of them because they're scared they're going to get wiped off the face of the earth by all these Muslim nations who hate them. But at the end of the day, they're an ally. They're an important ally. But Trump needs to focus on America first. And by the way, this is why I believe that we should send no funding to Israel or any other nation in the entire world, especially given the fact that we have tens of trillions of dollars in debt and tremendous domestic issues here at home. It's actually, other than that weird period at the end of the 70s and early 80s with the ridiculous interest rates, it has never been more difficult financially for a young family to buy a home in the United States since the Great Depression. We can't declare victory on the economic issues. We have a crisis here at home. And it's even worse because so many of these young Gen Z kids, largely to, I give God all the glory, but also Turning Point a lot of the credit socially for pulling this off. A lot of these young Gen Z kids, they want to get married young and have lots of kids and buy a home. And guess what? They've got the desire and they're stuck in apartments. You think that's going to work out well? You think that's going to work out well when the socialists come knocking and say, this economy doesn't work for you anymore? How about a universal basic income so your family can have a nice life? So I know that I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but of course the head of another nation is going to say whatever benefits them. It's their job to take care of their nation. It's Trump's job to take care of America.
Joseph, I want to give you a chance to respond. Your thoughts.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, have you ever heard the term "fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me"? This is going to be about.
I believe it was "fool me twice, I can't get fooled again."
Yeah. There you go. Well, something like that. But we got fooled already. He's already lied. We're doing it again. We're repeating the same mistake we did. And this is the main thing. This is what really I care about as being, just a normal American citizen, is that we pay for so many benefits of Israeli citizens, and the older generation really strongly supports Israel because they've been misled religiously. And Turning Point, I know you guys are big on Jesus, and I think you're dodging the biggest thing here is I think you're going to have a lot of kickback with these young Christians, man. And I don't want to go into it but I think that's something else why people have supported Israel so long is because they tie it religiously to Christianity. And once they figure out that that's a scam, that the Judeo-Christian idea is let me like to hear your take.
So we should start talking about Christian values, not Judeo-Christian values. So as a Christian, that means that I take the Old Testament and the New Testament into account. So I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with your point. And you're right. We're going to have a big problem with young Christians if we continue to let this false doctrine float in the church that if you follow Jesus, you have to magically approve of whatever the current leadership of Israel is doing. That's completely insane. By the way, you know who was actually very critical of the leadership of Israel? Jesus. Who was very critical of the leadership of Israel? Virtually every prophet in the entire Old Testament. And that is something that we need to preach with reckless abandon in the church, because there are a lot of people who have used the lack of theological understanding within the American church to convince them to give blanket approval to whatever the current leadership of Israel is doing, and that's completely unacceptable.
Phone lines are open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. If you want to join the conversation with myself and with Josh, you are welcome to do that. Let's turn this dialogue between myself and Josh into a larger conversation. We're here for it, and we won't shy away from it. I got to tell you, though, about my friends at the Glock store and the realistic training that you can only get at the Shoot 270 indoor ranges. One-on-one instruction, private shooting rooms, low light, no light, monthly home defense drills, and now they're taking training to a whole new level with the new Force on Force Simunition exercise. This is starting March 21st. In Force on Force, you are thrusted into a simulated situation where deadly force may well be necessary to save your life or a loved one's life. You're armed with a Glock 17T, used to train SWAT and U.S. Special Forces. You're going to test your reflexes, your marksmanship, making split-second decisions in a realistic life-or-death live-action simulation. You're going to want to find out more of this, and you can find out more at shoot270.com. Click on training and then classes. That's shoot270.com. Training, then classes. Slots are going fast for the March 21st debut. I'm going to be trying this out myself on Wednesday the 10th. And yes, I'll be sharing exactly how cool it is. Force on Force training, only at Shoot 270, only at the Glock store. If it were any more real, blood would be spilling. Shoot270.com.
11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers still got that road construction down to one lane, 24 eastbound if you are heading through Jolton. And in Clarksville, got a crash down 24 westbound just past the Sango Road overpass. Also in Franklin, got a stalled tractor trailer blocking the right lane 65 northbound before McEwen Drive. And then a crash in Nashville now, Spence Lane at Elm Hill Pike. Operation Epic Fury rolls on, and back home, gasoline prices are going up.
These moves in oil prices directly result in moves in gas prices, what you pay when you go to the pump. So we are now above $3 a gallon. It's the first time since last year that we've been at that level, and I think it's worth noting that gas prices are now higher than they were at this point last year.
That's Elizabeth Schulze reporting. Here in Middle Tennessee, Gas Buddy says prices at the pumps are up 17 cents since last week to an average of $2.79 a gallon. Meanwhile, in the region where the war is raging, Ian Panel.
Iran is unleashing hell on this region with more American targets in the firing line by the hour. Israel and the U.S. are trying to take out Iranian military capabilities, and yet still drones and missiles are raining down. And now 2 U.S. embassies in the Gulf have been forced to close.
And more U.S. forces headed to the Middle East as the war with Iran intensifies. Americans urged to leave the region. Election 2026, another major name stepping into the race to become Tennessee's next governor. Astronaut Butch Wilmore's name listed as a Republican. Qualifying cutoff is March 10th at noon. And how important is religion in your everyday life? Fewer and fewer, if a new Gallup poll is to be believed.
How often do you go to church, a temple, or a mosque? As part of a survey it does every year, Gallup asked Americans how important religion is in their everyday lives, and only 47% answered very. That figure has been on a gradual decline from 2012, when 58% of those polled answered that way, and it's a lot lower than in the 50s and 60s, when about 70% said it was very important. Just under a third of Americans say religion's not very important in their day-to-day lives, and a quarter of Americans, when asked what their religion is, said none. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. When winter storms hit Nashville, you need to be able to trust the guys at Busy Bee. You need to be able to trust your HVAC guy. This is why I choose Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And now is the best time to call them. You know, when the storms come, it's power outages, it's frozen pipes, it's burst pipes, and what starts as a small problem leads to a home disaster fast. So you want to be preemptive with your coverage, and you can get some great deals right now, like 40% off a whole home surge protector with any electrical repair. You can protect your home from sudden outages and damaging voltage spikes before the next storm rolls in. If freezing temps have done a number on your pipes, talk to Busy Bee. They're offering $500 off select whole home water repipes right now. You can fix it right the right way before a small leak becomes an expensive flood. My guys at Busy Bee are going to keep you staying safe and staying warm all winter long, and you'll be ahead of the damage. 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
Hey, this is Pastor Al, and join us on Super Talk 99.7, Sunday evenings from 7 to 8. We're going to look at the news from a biblical perspective.
It's 11:37. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. We got the Senior Director of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action in studio, Josh Tifo. Tifo Tuesday. What's up, Josh? How are we doing?
Having a lot of fun. It's been a pretty spicy day so far.
I think it's going to get spicier. We got a gang of phone calls lined up. Larry, Steven, John. We're going to start with Deborah in the borough. She wants to talk about Democrats in Iran. What's up, Deb? How are you?
Doing great. How about you?
Can't complain. You're on with myself and Josh. What's going on?
My comment is I can't figure out what is wrong with the Democrats. If they're just crazy or...
I'll be honest, Deb. I don't know if we have enough time to tell you what's wrong with the Democrats.
So specifically on the Iran issue, they're not crazy. They're just looking at polling numbers. So most Americans, as of the moment of the strikes, are against foreign wars, largely because they hated the way that Iraq and Afghanistan turned out, and they also are struggling economically. So, yeah, they're crazy. But in this specific instance, they're just being politically calculated.
Yeah, I can't figure out why, when the citizens of Iran and even Venezuela were in the streets celebrating after the taking out of the respective regimes, the Democrats are offended. It's almost like they think they know better or what's better for the people in those countries than the people actually do. I don't get it.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, Deb. I think you're on the money. I mean, there's going to be a certain contingent that no matter what happens, orange man bad. And that they're just going to go a completely opposite of Trump.
And I would argue that it actually will get more aggressive the better we do in Iran, because they have to push harder to try to score political points the more popular his success gets.
Interesting. Let's go to John on the road. John, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, morning, guys. My son's attached to the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit. They're normally in the Pacific. They're getting deployed to the Middle East.
Well, can I just start with saying thank you to your son for his service, and God bless him. We'll keep him wrapped up in prayer.
Well, I appreciate that. So one thing, I lost a lot of friends after 9/11 in Afghanistan and in Iraq. I'm 50 years old. If we put boots on the ground, if that does happen, this will become a forever war. My dad, same thing, Vietnam vet, 3 tours in combat in the Corps. America first. I was always taught America first, take care of your community and loving on each other. This war isn't a war of the United States. It's definitely a war of Israel, without a doubt, in their interest. And one thing that's always gotten us into wars and forever wars is that it's countries that haven't been a direct threat to us post-Vietnam and Korean War that didn't harm us on our land in a sense. If we look at sleeper cells in the United States, there's probably enough sleeper cells that have been here probably for 40, 50 years that have activated by their home country could severely hurt us. That would be a response to attack Iran or any other country. That we had no business doing this, and it's not a liberal or a conservative or a Democrat or a Republican or far left or far right issue. It's how does it affect my neighbor? You know, is that one of those 6 soldiers killed? Is that my neighbor's son or daughter that I'm going to have to go over there as a Gold Star family and sit and pray with them and try to get some explanation of what they were doing? We enlisted in the service to serve our country, our people first. Our community first, not Iran. They didn't sign up. My son has made it very clear he'll do his duty and he'll follow his orders. But he's not happy with the fact that we're getting dragged into something that he could lose his life over, that had zero interest in the United States because they didn't take action on us. They were a direct threat to Israel. An immediate threat to Israel, not an immediate threat to the United States.
John, I appreciate the call, and we will definitely be praying for your son as he is deployed in the area. I mean, you can make the argument that if he was at a base in the Middle East, he is a direct threat from Iran. Your thoughts on John's call?
So, John, your heart is in the same place as a lot of people in the movement right now. Your beliefs are very representative of where the Trump base is as of today.
Yep.
They have questions. They want to know why we're being dragged into another Middle East conflict and whether you're more on the neocon side, which I can tell you're not, and I'm definitely not, or you're more on the isolationist side, which I tend to be, not at its extreme, but kind of more towards that side of the spectrum. The reality is the glass has been broken, and we are now at war with Iran, and what we need to hope and pray is that this barrage of strikes over the next 2-3 weeks is mercilessly effective so that we do not need to put boots on the ground. I believe it would be a massive mistake to put boots on the ground, but if the airstrikes are not effective, that's what he'll have to do. So that's the first thing that we need to pray for, that this is effective. But also, if you're like many people in America today and you believe that any type of conflict in the Middle East is not something we should enter, that's not an argument we get to really entertain anymore. That's not a debate we get to have anymore because the glass has been broken, and the only way out of this is through. And the quickest way through is essentially 2-3 weeks of mercilessly effective airstrikes so that your son doesn't end up on the ground there. And that is what I'm hoping and praying for.
Does boots on the ground, and for me, I think it does, mean that this operation was a failure?
I'm not going to jump to that conclusion just because you could have all kinds of situations play out. If we have boots on the ground for any extended period of time, I would argue that most likely. But if we have almost everything wrapped up and they're there for a very short period and there's no casualties, I mean, then Trump's going to declare victory. I'm not going to presumptively cast judgment because we have no idea how this situation is going to play out. One argument Charlie made often when he was alive against conflicts in the Middle East, unless absolutely necessary, was that whatever you whiteboard almost never happens. You are dealing in Iran with, I believe it's 11 or 12 different ethnic groups in an enormous nation the size of, what is it, twice the size of Texas.
Yeah, and it's just mountainous as all
and
get
whatever
out.
you plan, you can be the smartest military genius in the world. Whatever you plan, it's probably not going to happen how you draw it up. You kind of take things in a direction.
Is it everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth?
The best thing that we can do is obliterate every strategic target and every leader in the regime we can. And then when we have to pick up the pieces, make that phase the least of a mess as possible. The one thing that I love, though, is we've been dominant enough to this point to scare China and a lot of the other bad actors from coming to Iran's aid. That was a big thing that had to be done. We had to be big enough and scary enough that this thing did not turn into a world war.
And that was the different conversation the last time we went through this whole process with the strikes on the nuclear facilities. Is it going to turn into World War III with Russia and China? It looks like Russia's stretched too thin, and China is playing a very diplomatic route, calling for a ceasefire.
Well, the one thing that is just such a tremendous gift is how stupid China was with their one-child policy. So their one-child policy, what was that, like 20, 30 years ago, where if you had more than one kid, you had to throw them out in the cold, and it was this humanitarian crisis. Completely insane that they did that. They were just convinced that the nation would be better off and they wouldn't have a population crisis if all the parents just had one kid instead of two or more. And now they have a catastrophic economic crisis where they have way too many old people compared to young people, and there aren't enough young people paying into the economic system to take care of the old people who can no longer work.
Similar story in Japan, too.
So if China, and you're right, in Japan they've got a situation, it's not as bad as China, though, because Japan didn't have the one-child policy. It was more of a cultural thing. But that is a good point. If China had not been so catastrophically stupid, they'd be way stronger economically right now. Dare I say, they may be strong enough to enter this war and help Iran, but they're not. They have big problems at home. So, yeah, I'm glad they were dumb 20, 30 years ago. Otherwise, we would be in a much different situation here.
Let's pray for continued stupidity. Let's go to Steven on the road. Steven, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, man? How are you? Oh, hold on. Sorry. Steve, what's up, man?
Pretty good, man. Hey, pretty good. Thanks. How you guys doing? All right?
We're good. We're good. What do you got?
Good. Yeah, I'm on Josh's side on this. We're not being pulled, and let me explain a little bit on why. It's more simple.
I think we lost Steve.
Because
hey, Steve, your cell phone. Hey, Steve, your cell phone connection isn't the greatest. I'm going to put you on hold, and we'll come back to you. Let's go to David in Shelbyville. He is an Afghanistan veteran. Thank you for your service, Dave, and thanks for calling to the show. What's up?
Well, thank you, sir. I was a late bloomer. I'm 68, just turned 68 in February. But anyway, I'm a student of history. especially military history. But the bottom line is yes, we do need to stand firm with America. However, we don't go blindly into things. And like you guys said, the president knows things that we don't know. They know the big picture. And we voted him in, and for better or for worse. And I was for him, but I'm not for or against anyone totally. To be honest with you, I think we need to have term limits and a lot of other things. But the Constitution, the way it was set up, politicians weren't meant to stay in there and make millions of dollars for years and years and years.
I like this guy.
But leaving all this alone, people say, well, it was for Israel. Well, I'm a Christian, and I don't want bad on anyone. They turn their backs on our Lord and Savior, but that's fine. I pray that they will get a better attitude. But nobody needs to live in fear. And if that regime, which was backed by Shira law, and I spent a lot of time when I retired from the military working for the U.S. government, taking care of linguists of all things over in Afghanistan and in Iraq. What the American people need to understand, there are lots of Islamic people that do not want to take us over by force and say, hey, look, if you don't convert to Allah, then we're going to kill you. But there are those in that religion and in that mindset that believe that the only government should be Islamic government, and that they're, pardon my language, ladies and gentlemen, hell-bent on making the whole world Islamic. And
I tend to disagree with you a little bit. When you talk about the moderate Muslim, they're the people that just watch the gay people being thrown off the roofs. They're not the ones doing the throwing.
Yeah, and that's essentially somebody who's not actually a Muslim. It's like when someone who's actually a Christian is going to live their life sold out for Jesus. They're going to read their Bible. Right. They're going to give money to the church. They're going to go to church. Yeah. They're going to raise their kids. And then there are people who just kind of say they're Christians. The same thing with Muslims. I mean, there are those who want to build a caliphate, who want to kill the infidels. Right. And then there are ones who don't and call themselves Muslim. That just means they're not actually following the religion.
And the ones that want to build the caliphate also say that those are not real Muslims.
Well, there's also those that in the Islamic faith that say we don't want to go along with what the Quran says about forcing people. But regardless, there are those that back during the Dark Ages that during the Catholic faith, and I'm not saying nothing against the Catholics, but they literally burned people at the stake and did all kinds of bad things. But we're going to get out of that. But what people need to understand is it is a difference in ideological concepts. Yes, I believe in God, but God doesn't tell me to go out and kill people.
That's true. No, I hear where you're coming from, Dave, and we appreciate the call. I will say this, the Crusades are justified. Larry on the road. What's up, Larry? How are you?
How y'all doing, Sam? Mr. Josh? Americans are just totally passive. They eat their pork. They go to church. They, here's our pastors lying to us. What did God say? What did the Lord, our Father in heaven, say? Obey my Torah. That's what he wants us to do, okay? The Prime Minister did not get us into any war whatsoever. He is scared for his country, as spoken earlier. We are scared that there is a container that will show up on our country, in our country, and blow up. What does Americans act like they do? Oh, I want that to happen first before we attack. So, I'm like this right here. They need to be making a glass factory over there right now. Anybody fighting us back, obviously they're not through yet. So there we go. And thank y'all for your time.
Appreciate the call, Larry. I don't know, man. I get Larry's sentiment, but I think that there's good people that are saying, I don't know if we want another quagmire, as opposed to.
Well, we definitely don't. And I know that I've made this argument several times, but let's make it in closing because it's important. Whether you are a crazy neocon or an aggressive isolationist, when you're in it, your goal should be for America to get through it. So whether you think this was an amazing idea or a terrible idea, we're in it. We've killed the supreme leader, and our hope and our prayer should be for us to take care of business quickly. And I'll reiterate again, massively successful airstrikes over the next few weeks. That's how we avoid troops on the ground, which it sounds like just about everyone wants to avoid that.
Yeah. Pro-war, pro-conflict, and anti-conflict. Everybody wants to avoid boots on the ground. Last call, we got Steven on the road, who's got a bit of a better cell phone connection. What's up, Steve? How are you doing, man?
Hey, sorry, man. I'm kind of going down into Valley, so hope everything's good on this one. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Let's hear what you got.
All right. Yeah, I was going to take Josh's side on this, but just kind of chop it up a different way. I mean, I don't think Israel has pulled us into anything. I think this is pretty much Trump, man. Since 1979, all the conflict with Iran that's been going on in the Middle East. Israel coexists with Muslims. They actually have a mosque in Israel, and they live there. And some of the intel that actually comes to Israelis comes from Muslim operatives. So the Muslims are peaceful all around them. It's just Iran, the dictator that they just took out, and the proxies that are, a menace over there. But what we're seeing is this is Trump, man. This is Trump basically has in the late great words of Uncle Phil, he's the only president that we've had with the C.O. Jones enough to stand up to Iran to finally, he's given them chance after chance after chance, and their time ran out, and what we're seeing now is a result of that. And finally somebody's doing what should have been done a long time ago. So, I hope the best for our men and women that are over there fighting, and for the Israelis as well. But yeah, it's not like Israel is making us do anything. They're getting intelligence, but I guarantee you with our massive force that's over there, we're not just taking their word for anything. We're watching their satellite feeds. We're reading their intels. We're connected just like they are. So before we do anything, before we have done anything, I guarantee you we're second. We're checking it once and we're checking it twice, and then we're making our decisions on our own.
I agree with you 1,000%. And the reality is, no president has taken this on, even the most neocon of the presidents, because success is such a difficult path. For us to end up in 5 years looking back saying this was an amazing idea, you have to flawlessly execute the start of the war, either avoiding or minimizing troops on the ground, and then you need to successfully install a new leadership team that they don't have to be perfect, but they at least have to be terrified of the United States, and they have to effectively bring together 11, 12 different cultural groups within an enormous nation. So everything that I just said, all combined, it's not impossible, but it would be one of the greatest geopolitical feats of the modern era.
It's a big ask.
If anyone can do it, it's Trump and Rubio. The reason why a lot of the smartest people I know in politics have been telling Trump not to do this for years is because it's really hard to win. But just because something's hard to win doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. And the president of the United States has access to top secret information we don't. He's been one of the greatest presidents in American history. And you know what? I trust him. I choose to trust him.
And he didn't tiptoe around. I mean, going in there and taking out leadership, 48 military leaders. I mean, he went in and swung a big stick. And for that, you give him all the credit in the world. He's not half-assing anything. And I think that's all we can ask right now. Closing thoughts before we wrap things up.
Closing thoughts would be, if you're an American, you need to support what Trump and Rubio and our great nation are doing right now. And you need to hope and pray that these airstrikes are mercilessly effective so we do not need boots on the ground. If you're like me and you don't want to see conflict in the Middle East with American involvement, really under any circumstances outside of an emergency, you need to understand that the time for that debate is over. So if you asked me 2 weeks ago if I thought war with Iran was a good idea, I would say I hope and pray that never happens. But once it's started, the only way out is through. And I've said this so many times, your audience may be getting tired of it, but it's important that we understand this. Even if you are 100% against what happened over the weekend, the only way out is through. And how do you think a lot of these service members feel who are preparing to potentially be those boots on the ground, who are flying those missions right now? We need to hope and pray that the least number possible are taken by this war. We've already lost 6 service members, maybe more if there's been more since we started on air. We need to back the American people. We need to back our service members. And at the end of the day, if Trump pulls this off, it will be one of his greatest victories. And it's going to be very, very tough. Look, I believe in God. I trust in God. And all of us as Christians, we should be praying every day for a swift and effective end to this conflict as soon as possible.
That's Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action on every social media platform. Josh Tifo, Thifault. My name is Chris Hand. It's 11:58. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTF.